It's the second slowest circuit on our calendar, and the start-finish straight is only just over 500 metres long. Nonetheless, riders reach over 260 kilometres per hour before heavy braking into turn 1, the first of 3 key action hotspots. Perhaps the best place to make a pass is into turn 8, over 4.5 seconds on the brakes into Quetcha, the longest braking zone on the circuit. Top speeds are reached heading towards Curvone. From there, speeds gradually drop through decreasing radius corners into Caro, the slowest corner taken at just 60 kilometres per hour. Toprak Razgatlioglu is the master through here. He passed Michael Ruben Rinaldi at turn 14 for victory in race 2 in 2021, and then Alvaro Bautista in race 1 last year, albeit for a temporary lead. It is Razgatlioglu, though, who holds the race lap record here in Misano. 11 wins out of 12 for Alvaro Bautista, just as he managed at the start of 2019. Then his advantage was only 48 points, a third of the way through 2023, and 69 points is Bautista's lead. It took him until San Juan last season to amass that kind of cushion. The reigning champion in the driving seat again, but giving the testing pace of Toprak Razgatlioglu and the Misano form of Michael Ruben Rinaldi, this could be the best chance for some time to stop him. Race 1 of the Pirelli Emilia-Romagna round. Steve English alongside me. Am I just clutching at straws here after Bautista's stunning FP2 run and another lap record in Super Bowl this morning?
You know what? You're not actually clutching at straws. Toprak's got a chance in this race. He could have had the pole position in the Super Bowl session if it wasn't for the red flag. We know that this is a track that Toprak loves, and we also know that once he's in with a fight and once he's in with a chance, he'll always do what he can to stay at the front. Tyre wear shouldn't be an issue. The Yamaha should have grip underneath it all the way through. If anyone's going to be able to bring the fight to Bautista, it's Toprak. So let's wait and see. 21 laps is a long race. It's going to be really difficult for the Yamaha rider up against Bautista, but you never know.
Dominant performance from Ducati in Superpole this morning, with Bautista and Rinaldi on the front row of the grid, but also the supporting roles of those independent Ducatis of Petrucci and Bassani up on the second row of the grid, and all 4 of those Ducatis before the first Kawasaki of Jonathan Ray.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the big things that's a little bit of a difference maker this weekend. Misano's a track that we know so many riders know well, that they ride well at, and that the Ducati works well, but it's all about what they're able to do over the course of the 21 laps.
Alvaro Bautista then sporting a new livery for Ducati this weekend to celebrate their home round. They swapped their traditional red for a yellow colour scheme, very much reminiscent of the 998 RS ridden by Pier Francesco Chili to the race 2 win here in Misano, actually back in 2004, his final race win. But Alvaro Bautista in devastating form last time out at the Catalunya round. The weekend started with a confirmation that he'll remain with Ducati for 2024. Went on to take pole, a new lap record, and complete a second consecutive unbeaten visit to Barcelona. 3 hat-tricks now in 2023 for Bautista.
Yeah, and Alvaro's certainly going to go into this weekend expecting to add to that winning tally, and he'll get his opportunities. It's going to be a question, though, to see who's able to bring a bit of a fight to him. Can Michael Ruben Rinaldi on the other side of the yellow Ducati pit box, can he bring the fight? We know Rinaldi goes very well around this track as well.
Newly signed by BMW for 2024, Toprak Razgatlioglu. The switch ends his 4-season spell with Yamaha that's seen him make over 100 starts in blue and yielded their first world title since 2009. 78 podiums and 31 wins in all, making him their greatest ever rider in World SBK. So a shock move to the manufacturer that currently sits bottom of the championship.
Yeah, shock move in many ways, but one that was touted all the way through the last couple of rounds, Assen, and then particularly in Catalunya. So we knew that it was on the cards that Toprak could be looking, and whenever the news was actually confirmed, I think for a lot of insiders in the paddock, it wasn't as big of a surprise as I think it was for outside viewers.
Struggling start to 2023 for Jonathan Ray. Sits only 4th in the championship standings, but he has picked up at least 1 podium at 3 of the 4 rounds. And his results on Sunday at the Catalunya round should really have been better than they were ultimately. A fall in the wet late in the Super Bowl race, costing him points there, and then also costing him points in race 2 later on that day. This This is Michael Ruben Rinaldi, a real home man here in Misano, having been born just down the road in Rimini, and this statistically his best circuit as well. Dropped just 5 points from 3 races in the 2021 Emilia-Romagna round, won 2 out of 3 and added 2 podiums here last year.
Yeah, it's always easy to find the hometown favourites at a track like Misano, but he is a legit hometown rider, and certainly for Rinaldi, he's been able to win races here. He had to work really hard to get opportunities in the stock 600, stock 1000 classes. He's had to work hard for a Ducati factory seat in Superbikes, and now he's having to work really hard to hold on to that seat.
Andrea Locatelli recently agreed a new 2-year contract extension that will give him the longest ever continuous contract with the manufacturer Yamaha. Remember, Locatelli stepped up to the Superbike class in 2021 after winning the 2020 Supersport Series, and Yamaha keen to emphasise their continued drive to develop talent and to work on a long-term basis with their riders.
Yeah, he was looking elsewhere to see if there were opportunities. Kawasaki was one team he was definitely talking to, and he was trying to see if there was the chance to probably earn a little bit more money, because obviously whenever you're a teammate to Toprak Razgatlioglu, if there's a certain amount of budget set for wages, Toprak's going to take the lion's share. When Toprak was released from Yamaha, or when he went to BMW, it suddenly opened up a little bit more budget, probably made it a little bit easier to come to the agreement with Locatelli as well. But for Locatelli, why would he want to leave as well? He's got a competitive bike, he's got the opportunity to be third in the world right now, and he's going to have more chances for podiums and hopefully for him the opportunity for that first race victory.
Loris Baz earned the ire of Tito Rabat in free practice 3 this morning, and as a result it's a 3-place penalty for slow riding on the racing line, and things go from bad to worse really for Loris Baz, who started the weekend with a technical problem, who has now been penalised 3 positions from an already pretty miserable Superpole effort.
Yeah, and for Loris, the red flag came at the worst time, but now he's got all the work to do, not just for this race, but particularly for the 10-lap Superpole race tomorrow. Big penalty for Loris, but down there 22nd on the grid for this one. We'll see if he's able to come through and get some points.
To be perfectly honest, it did look like the BMWs were worst hit by that red flag, with just over 1.5 minutes remaining, and every rider obviously lost their what would have been their final Superpole lap as a result.
Yeah, and it definitely did hurt them quite a bit. We saw that Scott Redding had a crash at the end of the session, and then he's going to line up on the 4th row of the grid. On the 5th row of the grid is Garrett Gerloff. On the 6th row of the grid is Tom Sykes. It should have been the 7th row of the grid for Loris Baz. As it is, the penalty puts him onto the 8th row of the grid.
Making our way up through the field then, those BMWs are going to be trying to fight their way through. Scott Redding, the highest placed of them in P12, but realistically this is a Ducati party that there are only 1 or 2 candidates to try and interrupt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically Ducati all the way, showing the advantages that they have with this bike and this package right now, especially whenever you look at it that Rinaldi, Petrucci, Pisani, they're 3 riders not known for their single lap pace, and they're going to line up 3rd, 4th and 5th on the grid, so that gives a good indication of just how competitive that Ducati is.
Alvaro Bautista then starts from pole once again. It's 3 in a row for him for only the 2nd time in his Superbike career. Misano, a strong venue actually for Bautista, took his first MotoGP podium at the San Marino Grand Prix in 2012, and he only dropped 3 points from 3 races here last season, his 2nd highest score of the 2022 campaign, so every chance then of him extending what is a 7-race unbeaten run.
On the left of the shot, Gigi Dall'Igna in the red shirt, and the white shirt Claudio Domenicali as well, the CEO of Ducati Corse, all here. All of the big wigs are here. There's a lot of pressure on Ducati for this weekend, a lot of pressure on Alvaro Bautista, and he's delivered up to this point.
Toprak Razgatlioglu starts from P2, another track specialist here in Misano. He led his first Superbike laps here in 2019. Since joining Yamaha, he's had 5 podiums from 6 races here. He's picked up 2 wins here in the last 2 seasons.
We're at another one of those tracks that Toprak comes to and says, this is my favourite track on the calendar, and Misano is certainly one where he's had a lot of success, but he'd trade all that success for just a little bit more today.
Michael Ruben Rinaldi completes the front row of the grid. He's only 7th in the championship standings. Wet race 1 in Australia, a fall in Indonesia, technical problems on Friday in Assen, all contributing to that. And then the Catalonia round, taken out in race 1, hampered by rain in the Superpole race, finally managed to get back on the podium in race 2. That sets himself up for a better weekend here in Italy.
And this is a really important weekend for Rinaldi. He needs to prove that he can deserve that spot with the factory team. The only way he can do that, podiums and race wins, show something that the other Ducati riders other than Bautista haven't been able to do, and then you might have the opportunity to hold on to that seat for another year. But it's pressure time for Rinaldi.
There's your front row of the grid then. Alvaro Bautista, Toprak Razgatlioglu and Michael Ruben Rinaldi on the front row of a Superbike grid for only the third time in his career. Superpole is generally a weakness for him, so he was all smiles after qualifying in P3, and particularly because he's managed to qualify ahead of Petrucci and Bassani, two of his rivals within that Ducati camp. This is Jonathan Rea, back at the venue where he secured his first World SBK race win in 2009. He's raced 25 times here in all, with 8 wins to his name, a circuit record. More history for Rea here in Misano this afternoon. He makes his 250th race start with Kawasaki.
Yeah, JR did a long run yesterday, a full 21-lap race distance simulation. He just wasn't as competitive as he would have liked to have been. He said that he was giving up a lot of ground on the run through turn 8, the exit onto the next straight. So for him, he knows that he's going to have his work cut out for himself in this race.
3 consecutive pole positions for Alvaro Bautista, who leads the Tissot Superpole Award in 2023. He's also won 3 out of the 4 Tissot Superpole races and hasn't been off the front row of a grid yet this season. The accolades just keep on flowing for Alvaro Bautista.
Yeah, he's won all the feature-length races. We're into the 21-lap feature-length race now, and he's going to know that everyone's chasing him down, but he's got a couple of extra bullets in his armour.
Here is Axel Bassani, and Bassani will be starting from P5. Just 14 points for him from the Catalunya round. Hasn't had a worse score since Estoril last year. Race 1 crash with Michael Ruben Rinaldi earned him few friends, least of all within Ducati. He really needs a big weekend here to put that behind him. Remember, he was a podium contender in race 1 here last season.
Yeah, first time in the second row for this season, and a big step forward in his Super Bowl performance. It's going to give him a really good grounding for the rest of this weekend.
Third row of the grid with Dominic Egerter, Iker Lecuona and Remy Gardner. Egerter with 26 points from the Dutch round, 23 from the Catalunya round. So impressive scoring from his rookie campaign. And given that he went unbeaten in Misano from 4 races in Supersport, every chance he'll continue that strong run of form this weekend. Iker Lecuona, well, this time last season he was on 99 points with the first podium in his pocket. The Indonesian and Dutch rounds in particular poor for him in 2023. 23 points in Barcelona last time out, his best weekend of the campaign so far. Completing the third row, Remy Gardner, podium finisher in Moto 2 in 2021 here in Misano. In need of a strong result here this weekend, scored just 9 points at the Catalunya round, 18 at the Dutch round, his best haul thus far, beaten in 6 consecutive races by his teammate Dominic Egerter. Dave Goddard is down on the grid. Let's hear from you, Dave.
Yes, I've got Axel Bassani with me. Axel, excellent Super Pole effort to get you onto the second row, continuing the good form for Ducati on their home circuit.
Yeah, we did a really good Super Pole. Fifth position for me is like a first position, because usually on the Super Pole we are not so fast, but I'm happy, I feel good for this race, and we will see what happens. I hope to do my best and nothing to enjoy the race, and that's it.
Axel, good luck, thank you.
Bye, thank you.
Quick word on the Pirelli Best Lap Award. Alvaro Bautista with 9 fastest laps this season so far. He's set the fastest lap in each of the last 7 feature-length races, so he leads that particular metric. 2 fastest laps for Jonathan Rea. Only one of those counts towards the Pirelli Best Lap Award, 1 feature-length race, and that was race 1 in Australia. So all of them since then taken by Bautista.
Yeah, you're a good man for stats, Al. If you can find something that pokes a little bit of weakness in Alvaro Bautista, fair play to you.
Well, it's only ever going to be one, isn't it? 1 fastest lap nicked off him and 1 race victory of the grid. 5 top 5 finishes this season so far for him, 4 of them in each round Superpole race. Feature-length races, 4th place, his best result for this season. Picked up in race 2 last time out in Catalunya, when, of course, he beat his illustrious teammate Jonathan Rea.
Yeah, did well to recover from a crash there in the Superpole session to get himself up onto the 4th row of the grid.
This is Andrea Iannone, former race winner in MotoGP, and I think there might be more than one reason why he's enjoying Misano this weekend and making sure he's seen. Let's see if we can grab a quick word with him on the grid in a few minutes' time. In the meanwhile, back to P4 with Danilo Petrucci, his best Superpole performance yet. He's born around about 200 kilometres south of Misano, but very much a home hero, particularly after the 2nd place he managed in the San Marino Grand Prix of 2017. 17 here, and of course went on to win the Italian Grand Prix at Mugello. He was back in the Grand Prix paddock between rounds, finished 11th in the French GP as a substitute for Enea Bastianini. This is Andrea Locatelli, middle of the fourth row, podium finisher in each of the opening 4 rounds this season, sits third in the championship, and he has scored in every race so far, although a 7th place finish on Sunday in Catalonia ended that run of consecutive top 5 finishes. 6th place, all he could manage in Misano last year. He'll expect better than that here.
Yeah, and for Locatelli, those top 5s are really the goal. Keep yourself with that vein of consistency. Give yourself the opportunity of decent points. He's up there third in the World Championship right now, 33 points ahead of Jonathan Rea. We know Rea did his long run yesterday, but we also know it was a tough long run. So Locatelli, if he makes a good start with the Yamaha, he might feel like he's got another chance to be able to get into a scrap with Jonathan Rea, pick up some more points on him in the championship.
Completing the fourth row of the grid, Scott Redding, who suffered his first scoreless weekend in World SBK last month in Barcelona. A real nadir for his relationship with BMW, a couple of retirements. We saw him bounce back from his single-point return on his debut with the manufacturer in 2022. Here in Misano, where he secured his first MotoGP podium in 2015. That should be a boost that gets him back into the top 10 this weekend.
Yeah, you can see Scott there with a big bag of ice, just trying to keep himself as cool as possible down there. Tell you what though, not many people look much cooler than Max Biaggi down in the middle of the grid. No pressure on Max this weekend. He's here as a legend of World SBK.
Although he continues to get back on a bike quite frequently, and I think if you handed him half an opportunity, he'd still enjoy himself out there. Fifth row of the grid, Philip Oertel starts from P13. Now, Oertel got off to such an outstanding start to this season with those 2 top 6 finishes at the Australian round, but he hasn't been back in the top 10 since, and that's going to be his target this weekend. He only finished 1 of the 3 races here in Misano last season, finished 11th.
Some upgrades on his bike for this weekend, new clutch parts. It seems to have helped him on corner entry just as you're back shifting, so hopefully for Philip that's going to give him that little step that he needs. It's so competitive in that 10th to 15th place battle.
Garrett Gerloff top BMW throughout the Catalunya round, the first weekend for him this season that's yielded points in every race, 3 top 10 finishes, hoping to continue that step forward into Misano, where he finished as high as 5th in race 2 of the 2021 Emilia.
He was able to bounce back in the Super Pole session, put it on the 5th row of the grid, so at least he's given himself an opportunity to score some decent points in this race.
Bradley Ray picked up 5 points from the Catalunya round. Race 1 in Barcelona, something of a race of attrition. We had 8 retirements in it, and 3 of them big names. But Brad has finished 5 of his 6 race starts this season so far.
Yeah, the big battle for him is always going to be up against Baldassarri. He's outperformed him for, well, this is 2 rounds and then the Super Pole session in Misano. So for Bradley Ray, that's what the target is, and it's just by trying to make sure that he's able to live up to that billing and try and then close up on scoring decent points.
6th row of the grid for Lorenzo Baldassarri. Either side of him, Xavi Vierge and Tom Sykes. Really disappointing Super Pole performance from Xavi Vierge. He has been struggling over a single lap, but has been best ranked Honda in 6 of the last 9 races, including his first podium at the Indonesian round, his best scoring weekend to date. So although he's only scored 5 points more than he had at the same stage last season, this time he's 12 points ahead of teammate Ika Lekkinen.
A new swing arm for Honda being used by Xavi this weekend. He likes the feel of it. His teammate Ika Lekkinen didn't really gel with it during the recent test here at Misano, so he's not going to run it. But for Xavi, it is an area that he found an improvement. He goes well here at Misano, traditionally in the Moto2 class especially, so that's where he's going to try and come up with something good in this race.
Alongside him on row number 6 will be Lorenzo Baldassarri and Tom Sykes. Baldassarri scoreless at the Catalunya round last time out, but he's optimistic of closing the gap to the regular group, and particularly here in Misano, where he had what he described as a breakthrough and where he's been a winner before in Moto2 back in 2016.
Yeah, and certainly for anyone that's had success here, there's a lot of commonality between the different bikes and the classes and how you can get that good feeling around here, particularly at the end of the lap. So if you've had success here, it just breeds extra confidence around this track.
2013 world champion Tom Sykes back in BMW colours as a replacement for Michael van der Mark, who sustained a left femur fracture in Assen. Sykes recorded 6 podiums from 90 starts with the German manufacturer between 2019 and 2021, finishing 8th overall in the first of those 3 seasons. So Sykes leaving Puccetti Kawasaki behind after managing only 6 finishes and 1 point in 12 starts with Puccetti. Returned to BMW in time for the recent test, and this is a venue where Sykes goes well. His 25th start in Misano, and Sykes has managed 8 podiums, including 4 wins here in the past. Well, from this weekend and through to the end of the Italian round next month, World SBK joins forces with the Emilia-Romagna Regional Protection Agency in light of the recent floods in the area. In all, more than €7 billion worth of damage was done when nearly half the average rainfall fell in just 36 hours, causing landslides, displacing thousands of residents, and in total more than €7 billion, as I've said, in damage. So World SBK fans encouraged to join in collecting funds for the affected communities this weekend. We've got a brief moment to head down onto the grid with Dave Goddard.
Yes, I'm here with former MotoGP star Andrea Iannone. Andrea, you enjoying your time here at Misano this weekend?
Yes, for sure. I'm enjoying a lot. So I'm really happy I'm here because the atmosphere is really, really good, and it's really amazing, no? And so also the rides are everybody close. It's exciting.
What are your predictions for the rest of the weekend, rest of the season?
I hope no. So it's a really strong fight, but from Ducati, Yamaha. But in any case, so I look at the future. No, I'm happy. Maybe one day I'll possibly come back here.
Okay, thanks, Andrea.
Bautista, Locatelli and Rinaldi is the front row of your grid. 21 laps ahead of us. Is it going to be a Ducati party? Just 140 kilometres from their Bologna factory, all eyes are on Ducati this weekend. The factory team might be in yellow this afternoon, but one thing hasn't changed. Alvaro Bautista, for the third round in succession and the second time in Misano, starts from